4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout. Take a look and see a beautiful morning that turns into a beautiful evening, and together make a beautiful life. And if you wanna see, then come along with me, that's right. And if you want a good tomorrow, it's pretty simple, got a plan to like follow. And if you do, you have a future real bright. And it's a combination of consistency. Come on and say, oh, 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 oh. Come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah. Come on, come on, come on and sing. Oh, 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 oh. Come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah. Come on, come on, come on and sing. With another sunrise, it's a brand new day, so gonna make a little list to keep the words away. I gotta dance just a little bit, move to be free. Keep my head up, don't forget to be me. Like I won $1 million, like I hit the pay dirt. Gonna smile from ear to ear, the kind that makes it.
Hello everyone, this is Cindy from C4H Storytelling again, and today we're going to read a totally new story. So we're leaving the 6 stories from last time, and today we're reading Peter Pan, the classic story of Peter Pan. I've had this book since a child too, so it's going to be a ride through nostalgia as I reread this again, and I'm glad I'll be reading this with you guys too. So let's get started, and here's the cover of Peter Pan. My setup is a little bit different today. I have my bookshelves, so hopefully it looks okay. So yeah. So here's one of the pictures in the beginning, and as you can see all the Disney characters right here. You see Snow White, and it's part of a series where Disney has a bunch of classical books, and this is the story of Peter Pan, and he is right here, as you can see. So yeah, let's get into the story of Peter Pan. The story is a bit long, so I might not finish it today. So I might be finishing it within 2 sessions, so we'll see. But Peter Pan. Okay, there you go. Walt Disney's Peter Pan. And there's Peter Pan and Tinkerbell right there. I've actually never watched the movie or read the books about Peter Pan. Maybe when I was little, but never when I was older, when I could remember better. So this will be a very big journey for me too. And the words are really small, but let's see if I can go closer. Yeah, there's a bit of a glare. So I'm really sorry about that. I'll try to fix it a little bit. There we go. Let's see. The Darling family lived in London, in a big house with a backyard. 6 of them lived in the house, as you can see over here. Mr. Darling, Mrs. Darling, and their children, Wendy, Michael, and John. Then there was Nana, the children's nursemaid. Nana also happened to be a dog, but she took wonderful care of the children. She served them breakfast, gave them their medicine, and tucked them to bed at night. She also looked after them when their parents went out for the evening. On one such night, Mr. and Mrs. Darling were planning to go out to the theater. That same night, Peter Pan decided to visit the house. And it wasn't his first visit either. Ooh. Okay. The artwork in this book is beautiful. I really love how everything fits together. And as you can see, that's the Darling family house right over here. And you see those chimneys, and it looks like a pretty big house. And I don't know what's going to happen next. But Peter Pan is coming to visit the Darling family. So we'll just have to see. go. The artwork a little bit more. And continuing on. Oh, that's Mr. Darling and Mrs. Darling. And Nana, right over here, the dog. But before Mr. and Mrs. Darling could go out, they had to get dressed. Mr. Darling was upset because he could not get his tie just right. Although he was quite a clever man, Mr. Darling sometimes had trouble with simple tasks, such as getting dressed. This night, he was even more upset because his children had drawn a picture of a treasure map on his shirt front. Oh no, his poor shirt. Luckily, Mrs. Darling had been able to get the chalk marks out. Still, Mr. Darling shouted at his children, and he even shouted at poor Nana, who hadn't done anything wrong. Not even Mrs. Darling could calm him down. So you can see, Mr. Darling is mad about his shirt because, well, the children did draw on his shirt, but he shouldn't have yelled at them. And Mrs. Darling's over here trying to calm him down, but he still looks very angry. And poor Nana is just sulking in the corner. Oh no. Yeah. Well, this is why you shouldn't draw treasure maps on shirts. But I wonder where the treasure map came from. That's very nice. Do you think it came from Peter Pan? I'm guessing it does. What do you guys think? Okay. Meanwhile, Michael and John were playing with cardboard swords, pretending they were Peter Pan and Captain Hook. You thought you could escape, Peter Pan, but now I've got you, said John, as they jumped across the bed. Mr. Darling called the story of Peter Pan Poppycock and Fiddle Faddle. Oh, but the Darling children believed that he was real. You're getting too old for this nonsense, Mr. Darling told Wendy. This will be your last night in the nursery. Tomorrow, you move to your own room. Wendy was not happy to hear this, and the whole family was unhappy when Mr. Darling decided to tie Nana outside for the night. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, as you can see, Wendy is playing with her little brother, and they're having lots of fun. As you can tell, I think Wendy is Captain Hook in this, with the bandana and the hook. Oh yeah, the clothes hanger right here. As you can see, she's pretending to be Captain Hook, and her little brother, Michael, is pretending to be Peter Pan. He does kind of look like Peter Pan too, which is pretty cute. But they tied Nana outside. I wonder who would save her. Okay. After Nana was tied outside and the Darling children were tucked in bed and kissed goodnight, Mr. and Mrs. Darling left for the theater. Immediately after they left, Peter Pan slipped into the window of the nursery. As you can see, Peter Pan is right here, and you see his shadow. And Tinkerbell is right here, and they're playing with, I think that is Mrs. Darling's hair. Or Wendy's hair, sorry. It seemed that he had visited the nursery a few nights earlier. He liked to sit in the shadows and listen to the wonderful stories Wendy told her brothers. However, on his last visit, Peter had gotten separated from his shadow, and Nana wouldn't give it back to him. Wendy was thrilled when she woke up and saw Peter Pan leaping across the room, chasing after his shadow. But she wasn't thrilled when she felt a tug at her hair. Ouch! Who's doing that? Oh, I guess she never realized that Tinker Bell was also in the room. And Peter Pan, his shadow, is chasing his shadow, and Tinker Bell is tugging at her hair. Let's get a zoom out of this. Yeah, so this seems like Tinker Bell's first time visiting the Darling household, and I wonder how the children will react. It was Tinker Bell, the little pixie who followed Peter wherever he went. Stop that, Tink, he ordered her. When Peter finally caught his shadow, Wendy offered to sew it back on for him. He told her how much he liked listening to her stories. Yes, but I have to grow up tomorrow, she told him. Tonight's my last night in the nursery. Come with me to Neverland, said Peter. You'll never grow up there. Wendy thought Neverland sounded like a lot of fun, and she woke up Michael and John. Ooh. Peter Pan's offering Neverland where you never grow up. I think that's like a dream come true for a lot of children. Would you rather go to Neverland or stay at home? I think I would take up his offer and go there because it sounds, like Wendy said, a lot of fun. And Peter Pan has his little pan flute, and Wendy is sewing his shadow back onto him. Yeah, there you go. The boys couldn't wait to go to Neverland. But how will we get there? Wendy asked. All you've got to do is fly, Peter told her. But how do we do it? Said Wendy. Peter scratched his head and thought. All you have to do is think wonderful thoughts. And you need a little pixie dust too. He sprinkled pixie dust from Tinker Bell on them, and soon the darling children were flying around the nursery. Come on, let's go, said Peter. And here you go. Now the three children can fly alongside Peter Pan, and they seem like having a lot of fun. And Tinkerbell is right here in the corner. She's just flying around with them too, as they head off to Neverland. Ooh. Yeah. Sounds very fun, sounds very cool, and I'm really excited for them. Okay. They flew all night long to Neverland, an island complete with a pirate cove, an Indian village, and a lagoon where mermaids lived. They could see Captain Hook's big ship anchored in the bay. Ooh, you see all those pretty mountains in here, and you can see those coves, the island beaches, and they said they could see the ship. Can you guys see where the ship is? Yeah. It's right down, here, right here. If you didn't notice it, but yeah, that's Captain Hook's pirate ship. Captain Hook had two enemies, Peter Pan and a hungry crocodile. One day, while fighting with Peter, the captain had his hand cut off. The greedy crocodile had grabbed the hand and swallowed it. He liked the taste so much, he had followed Captain Hook over here, hoping to get another tasty bite. Later, Captain Hook had fed the crocodile a clock. Then, at least, he could hear the crocodile sneaking up to him. Oh, that is very smart of him. Now, every time the crocodile is near him, he'll go tick-tock, tick-tock. And there you go. There's Captain Hook on his boat and the hungry crocodile that bit off his hand. But now, he won't ever be able to, since Captain Hook will always know when he is close. Captain Hook had very sharp eyes. As soon as he saw Peter Pan flying over the ship, he shouted, "Prepare for action! I'll get him this time. I've waited years for this." Peter, Wendy, and the boys were resting on a big cloud when boom! There was a big explosion, and the cloud was split into two by a cannonball shot by the ship. "Tink, take Wendy and the boys to the island," said Peter Pan. "I must have a few words with my old friend, Captain Hook." Now, the cannonball just split the cloud into two, right here. Oh my god. And all the kids are watching, and I guess Peter Pan is going to have to talk to Captain Hook about this encounter they've had. Yeah, it's pretty... I see the cannonball just shot through the air as Peter Pan yells from above. Tinker Bell agreed, but she had her own plan. She flew so fast, Wendy and the boys couldn't keep up with her. They could barely see her flying ahead of them. "Wait for us, Tinker Bell!" shouted Wendy. Even though the darling children flew faster than was safe for them, they couldn't even see the tiny flash of light from the pixie. Tinker Bell had made up her mind that she didn't like Wendy because the girl was taking Peter Pan's attention away from her. All she cared about was getting rid of Wendy. She dived down into a clump of trees on the island and headed straight for a hollow tree. She knew exactly where she was going and what she would do. Oh no, this is not good. Tinker Bell does not like Wendy because she thinks that Wendy is taking Peter Pan away from her. This is sad because they could both be friends, but I don't know what Tinker Bell is going to do. Is she going to trap them? Is she going to lead them away? We will have to see, but I hope they all can be friends in the end. Okay. Tinker Bell flew into an opening in the tree where the lost boys lived. Peter was their leader, and they were waiting for him to return from his trip to London. "Hey, Tink, where's Peter?" asked one of the boys. Jingling and gesturing, Tink told the lost boys that there was a horrible bird flying towards them. It was called a Wendy bird. She also told them that Peter had given them orders to smash it, kick it, and shoot it. The boys went right into action, gathering up their slingshots and hurrying outside to capture the Wendy bird for their leader. Oh my god, this is not good. Tinkerbell is it sounds pretty evil. She's like the villain right now. Oh no. She's calling Wendy a bird, and she's sending Peter Pan's team to capture her with slingshots and everything. This is not good at all for Wendy. Oh my god. I hope they all turn out okay. But you see the Lost Boys. They're dressed in animal suits, I think. And they're getting ready to capture the so-called Wendy bird, which is Wendy and her brothers. When they saw Wendy and her brothers flying overhead, the Lost Boys aimed their slingshots and started shooting rocks at them. Sorry, guys. Wendy got hit by a big stone and was falling rapidly when Peter appeared just in time to catch her. "Peter, you saved my life!" exclaimed Wendy, throwing her arms around Peter's neck. Tinkerbell was so jealous she could hardly stand it. "Is this how you welcome my friends?" said Peter to the boys. "I was bringing you a mother to tell you stories." The boys were ashamed of themselves. One of them spoke up. "But Tink said you wanted us to shoot the Wendy bird down." Peter turned to Tink. "Is that true? Did you really lie to the boys?" Tink didn't answer, but her face gave it away. "Then you are banished from here, forever," Peter said. Even Wendy felt sorry for Tinkerbell. "Oh, Peter, not forever," she said. "Well, for a week then," he agreed. You can see Peter Pan is mad. Tinkerbell had screwed up, she messed up, and she almost got Wendy and her brothers killed. So she is banished from Neverland for a whole entire week. And you can see the Lost Boys in the background. They look pretty ashamed of themselves, and Peter Pan is mad at Tinkerbell, who did the wrong thing. You should never send people to capture or hurt any of your friends' friends. So, yeah. I hope Tinkerbell learns her lesson and doesn't do this again. Let's hope. Okay. Peter introduced the darling children to the Lost Boys, who were very glad to have Wendy for a mother. Then, in order to help her forget what had happened, Peter offered to take her on a visit to Mermaid's Lagoon. Wendy was thrilled, for she had never met a mermaid before. Ooh. Meanwhile, John led the Lost Boys and Michael in a game of Follow the Leader, under waterfalls, over bridges, and across streams. Life in Neverland seemed to be one long and delightful game. You see, Michael and the Lost Boys are jumping over rocks and having fun. Yeah, it seems like Neverland is the perfect place. Will they ever decide to leave? I wonder. But yeah, they seem like they're having a great time, and everything seems to be forgotten. Now, okay. But as the boys followed the leader, they didn't know that they were being followed as well by Indians. Indians didn't make a sound But John noticed something in the sand. "Look, a footprint," he said. "A very big footprint," added one of the lost boys. They didn't see an arrow that whistled behind them and landed in a tree. And they didn't notice the eyes peering at them from behind the bushes. But they did notice when the Indians jumped out and grabbed them. The braves carried the children back to their camp. As you can see, the lost boys were ambushed, and they were caught in their trap. Michael and John were very frightened when the Indians began to play tom-toms and sing war chants. The lost boys explained a game they played with the Indians. When the boys captured the Indians, they let them go. When the Indians captured the boys, they let them go. "Not this time," said the chief. "Where did you hide Princess Tiger Lily?" The boys hadn't even seen the Indian princess, but the chief wouldn't listen. "If Princess Tiger Lily is not back by sunset, you will burn at the stake." Oh my god, these are harsh consequences. I'm so sorry. This is my first time reading this book too, and since I was little at least, and I never realized how dangerous this scene was and how serious it was. But they have to find their princess before sunset, or there will be very bad consequences. Let's hope they find her. Meanwhile, Peter Pan and Wendy have reached the mermaid's lagoon. Sorry, oh my god. Oh Peter, just imagine, real live mermaids, exclaimed Wendy. Some of the beautiful creatures were swimming in crystal clear water. Others sat on rocks, sunning themselves or combing their long hair. Peter introduced Wendy to the mermaids, but the mermaids were not glad to see Wendy. Like Tinker Bell, they were jealous of the girl. One of the mermaids laughed at Wendy. "Look, she's wearing her nightgown," she giggled. "Come on, leave her alone," Peter told them. Suddenly, there was a strange noise. "What is it, Peter?" asked Wendy. "Pirates," Peter whispered as they rushed to hide behind the cliff. Well, this is not good. I think it's Captain Hook from the beginning, if you guys remember, and I wonder what he is doing. Let's see. Captain Hook, first mate. Mr. Smee was rowed a small boat. "It's Hook. He's captured Princess Tiger Lily. We've got to save her," Peter decided. "Where are they going?" asked Wendy. "It looks like they're taking her to Skull Rock," Peter explained. "There's no time to waste." Hiding inside the cove, Peter and Wendy saw the pirate boat pass close by. There were 3 figures in the boat: Hook, Mr. Smee, and Tiger Lily. Her arms were tied. Peter and Wendy listened carefully to what the pirates said. Hook had brought the Indian princess to the rock to die where the tide rose. Captain Hook gave Tiger Lily a choice. Tell me where the hiding place of Peter Pan, and I shall sell you free. Tiger Lily listened, but she didn't say a word. So Hook continued, If you won't tell us, we'll have no choice but to leave you here. And you know what will happen. Then the water will slowly rise to your knees, to your arms, and finally your head. And then it will be too late for you, Tiger Lily. Still, the Indian princess did not say a word. Wendy was impressed that Tiger Lily was so brave, even in the face of death. As you can see, Captain Hook is trying to pressure her into telling him where Peter Pan is. But Tiger Lily remains strong, and she's like, I don't care about you. Everything's gonna be okay, and she's being really brave and keeping her friend's word. Watch this, Wendy! Peter Pan jumped in the air and landed on Hook's boat. When the pirate saw him, he was overcome with rage and pulled out his sword. But Peter was fast. He jumped onto the blade and bounced up and down as if he were on a spring. Do you see? Captain Hook's hat flew off, and Peter Pan's just teasing him at this point. I hope he is able to save Tiger Lily. The fight that followed was fierce, and neither Peter or Hook would give in. Blast you, Pan! I've got you now, snarled the pirate captain. As Hook thrust his sword at the boy, Peter leaped from rock to rock. You haven't caught me yet, laughed Peter. Hook began fighting even harder. Just when he was about to win the sword fight, Mr. Smee called out, I say, Captain, do you hear something? Sure enough, the tick-tock of the crocodile's clock was moving towards Captain Hook. Smee, help! Shouted the pirate as he lost his balance. He found himself hanging by his hook, just above the crocodile's open jaws. As you can see, oh no! Captain Hook is now in danger because of the big, hungry crocodile with the clock in his stomach. But at least he heard him coming and was able to somewhat save himself. I'm coming, Captain. Hold on. Smee was rowing as hard as he could as Hook slipped down into the jaws of the angry crocodile. With all his might, he fought the crocodile, but he knew he couldn't fight much longer. Now, Smee! Now! Shouted the terrified pirate. The crocodile's jaws were just about to snap shut. Will Smee get there in time? Or will Captain Hook be in serious danger? Let's see. While Hook was fighting for his life, Peter swam to Tiger Lily and saved her just in time. All he could see was a little blue feather pointing out of the water. You must have been scared to death, Peter said. Tiger Lily thanked Peter for saving her life. Just as she lifted her out of the water, they saw Mr. Smee rowing Captain Hook back to the ship as fast as possible. The crocodile was swimming right behind them. Wendy joined Peter and Tiger Lily, and they all flew back to the Indian village. And this is where we stop today because this story is actually really long and there's quite a bit of it left in the end. So we'll just have to find out what happens. But for now, we'll leave it on a happy ending. Peter Pan saved Tiger Lily. Captain Hook got out safe, and he is going back to his ship. And the Lost Boys and Michael are now safe, and they won't be in danger because Tiger Lily will be returning to the village soon. So yeah, it's a happy ending, and let's just end the story for now here, and we'll pick it up next time we're here. And this is the story of Peter Pan. Today was I did not expect a lot of things in this book. It was very interesting to read it again, and didn't realize a lot of like details. But I hope you guys like this book, and we'll be finishing it next session. And again, I'm a volunteer from C4H Storytelling, and if anybody's interested, the link and the website is down below, right here, scrolling. And yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, it's right there, c4hmi.org. That's their website. Goodbye, and thank you for listening to me read Peter Pan.